was about a new pay-for-performance system we were going under. And at an open point for questions, a woman from another part of the organization got up and started berating the commanding officer, saying, there's this drag queen and it's going to be in our bathrooms and this is disgusting and you've got to protect us. This person should be fired. And half the auditorium cheered that woman. But then the commanding officer just shut that down. And in a minute, basically said, I looked into this, ma'am. It's not at all like what you say. This person is a valued part of our team. And you talk about Navy values. That's courage, commitment, and mission. That's what this is about. I've given an order, and that is final. And then the other half of the room applauded. And during that auditorium, I was in my cube doing my job. While they were speaking, I was seeing this on closed circuit TV. I heard people working in my division coming up to me, and I felt the hands on my shoulders. And it was just this incredible feeling of my teammates rallying around me. And I showed up to work the next day, and the next day, and the next day for 11 years. And I was promoted several times. I went from analyst to division chief, managing dozens of analysts, the office that I had started in just a few years earlier. And what it tells me is that these people who are mostly conservatives, most of them have never known a transgender person before. They were there for me. And it teaches me of what is possible when we do look across our divisions, when we assume best intent and be open to be surprised at the goodness in one another. And that's something that I bring to politics too. And that much as I have very progressive positions and I have a certain agenda for when I go to Congress, I also seek to be a bridge builder that is not going to just see the letter after someone's name. I will see the person and I will listen to the person and I will assume the best until proven otherwise.
I love that. And I love that story. It's just very touching and really very, I think, hopeful that, if we move past things like Twitter and Facebook and people have actual real face-to-face interactions and get to know people, that deep down I think people are much nicer than they often seem online.
You are 100% correct. And it has been validated over the course of this campaign. I share this with people and they're often surprised that I've been campaigning for almost 9 months. And of all the conversations I've had with thousands of people, I have never, in person, had someone to my face say something hateful to me about being transgender. I've had policy disagreements with people. I've had people that just didn't want to talk to a Democrat running for office, but never about me in that way, not once. And yet, on the other side of the ledger, hundreds, thousands of wonderful conversations. And then online, hundreds, thousands of favorable interactions and support from not only around this district, but around this country and around the world. And sometimes I just think about it and I just tear up because it's both support for me and it reminds me that what I'm doing has a special meaning for a lot of people, in addition to what I just most concretely want to do for the working class and middle class people of this district. But it's it's very powerful on multiple levels, the whole experience.
So I know that while the idea of having the first transgender congressperson is important, it's not really what's driving your campaign.
Right.
And it's not the primary issue on which you're running. So can you just talk briefly about, you've mentioned several times now sort of what you would want to do for the middle class and the working class. So what are those issues that you're really hearing about in your district?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, every full-time job in this country should be a living wage job. And here in Massachusetts, this is a high-cost state, high cost of housing, childcare, healthcare. Wages for such a long time have just not kept up. So I'm looking at policies such as expanding the earned income tax credit, increasing the federal minimum wage, expanding profit-sharing programs that will put more pay in the hands of people who need it, who will spend it, which will not only improve quality of life, but also further improve economic growth in a virtuous cycle. And then on the cost side of the ledger, I have plans and policies for capping childcare costs for middle-class and working-class families and the poor, and healthcare, moving to a single-payer healthcare system. I mentioned the story I've had with respect to school shooting. I've also hunted the flow of weapons around this world, so comprehensive gun safety solutions and detailed policies to take on climate change, as well as, again, the opioid epidemic, treating it, and it is a dire problem here, like a public health emergency, with the lessons learned from my time helping to run a community healthcare clinic that provided HIV/AIDS care and drug treatment. So those are issues that I'm running on for this district, which it's a very diverse district. We have everything from inner cities to suburbs to farm towns, and with the diversity of those concerns. But these issues cross-cut all those communities. And that's the agenda that I want to bring to Congress, with the pitch that because I'm someone who I served under Bush, under Obama, and under Trump, I had to work across divisions. And I'm someone, speaking of being transgender, I'm someone who's had to be tough. I've represented us abroad in the Middle East. I've been there and seen that auditorium cheer for me to be fired. And I'm someone who had the upbringing that I did, the challenges that I did, someone who's been without health care. And it's not made me bitter. It's made me tough. It's made me stronger. It's made me more optimistic, more determined. And I believe it will make me very effective in Congress.
Well, are there any closing thoughts you have? Anything else that you want to make sure that we talk about?
I would just say, for those listening that are following politics this cycle and that are excited by the process, let me add to the excitement further by saying that it's just, there are people like you all over this country. It's been amazing for me as a candidate for Congress with the volunteers that we have, the staff that we have, sure, but as I've connected with like-minded people throughout the country. I was just the other day talking to a candidate in Georgia, Lisa Ring, and we face similar issues, and we see people excited by similar things. And it's just, we are in a moment, and don't let anyone fool you into thinking otherwise, or it's just a flash in the pan. Something is out there, and it is changing. And I do believe that we can be on the cusp of changing politics, so it's less about how much money one raises and more about the ideas that you bring to the table and about the people that you activate with real plans, policies, and ideas that meet the challenges and aspirations of people. And that if we open our minds to the possibilities that are inherent in that, and just envision the kind of world that some of the policies that I talked about creates, it's exciting. And I just want to celebrate that for a moment, and that whether any particular election is won or lost, it's just, this is part of a bigger moment for this country. I'm so proud to be a part of it.
And if people would like to be a part of your campaign and help out, how can they do that?
They can first and foremost check out our website at alexandrachandler.com. And we have remote volunteer opportunities. People can sign up to phone bank from anywhere in the country. You can write postcards that will go to voters in our district. You can, of course, also contribute money, and we're very grateful for that. Running for Congress is expensive. But first and foremost, we need that volunteer help. and we'd be very grateful for it.
All right. And we will put a link to your website up and your social media as well up on our website so everyone can go check that out.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Alexandra, thank you so much for joining me. This has been a really great conversation, and I'm just very moved by your story and by your campaign.
Gosh, thank you so much, Kelly. And it has likewise been a pleasure on my end, too.
Thanks for listening to Two Broads Talking Politics. Our theme song is called Are You Listening? Off the album Elephant Shaped Trees by the band Imunari, and we're using it with express permission of the band. Our logo and all original artwork is by Matthew Weflin and is done expressly for Two Broads Talking Politics. We can be found on our website at twobroadstalkingpolitics.com. You can reach us by email at twobroadstalkingpolitics@gmail.com, on Twitter at twobroadstalk, on Facebook and Instagram, and you can support us on patreon.com. You can find our podcast on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and anywhere podcasts are found. If you are interested in advertising on Two Broads Talking Politics, please email us at twobroadstalkingpolitics@gmail.com.